For 10 years, my boyfriend kept dodging marriage. Fed up, I finally took the plunge and proposed to him.
Kent, aren't we about time we get married?
But his response plunged me into despair.
Marry an old lady? Annoying. No way, that's just impossible. What?
Shocked, I dashed out of the apartment. And I decided I would definitely bring down the man who had been using me all this time. My name is Mindy. I work for a mid-sized confectionery manufacturer. Currently, I'm 30 years old. In my company, I hold a mid-level position. Last year, I was promoted to a managerial position, guiding and organizing my juniors. A complaint from a client? No worries, leave it to me. Let's switch gears and move forward. One of my juniors, who looked like they were about to cry, smiled with relief. But management isn't just about covering mistakes. To prevent repeating the same mistakes, we'll work together to devise and implement strategies. This approach will encourage personal growth. That's my approach to management. Of course, I can't slack in my own work. Nobody follows a manager who's all talk. I always keep an eye on the entire department, work on my tasks concurrently, and study at home after work. It's a very busy life. But it's fulfilling. Well, at least in terms of work. In my personal life, I haven't dated in about 5 years. Too busy with work, I haven't had a relationship since breaking up with my last partner 5 years ago. I've been living solely for work since then, which sounds good, but honestly, I just haven't had the courage to start a new relationship. While my juniors are getting married in their 20s, here I am at 30. I look plain and unglamorous, just like a typical work-focused woman in her 30s. So, I've pretty much entered give up on love mode. 3 newbies this year, huh? Guess it's that time again. Every spring, new recruits are assigned to our departments. This year, 3 fresh graduates will join our sales team. I always get a bit excited each year, no matter what.
People often ask me why I'm so happy about it. Is it really that strange?
The addition of new members to the department feels like a sign of change, something exciting. Fresh ideas often lead to the creation of new products, as innovative thinking frequently results in the birth of new offerings. And not to toot my own horn, but I seem to have a good reputation for training newcomers at the company. So, I'm geared up to do a great job this year too. Okay, let's see about this year's 3. Yep, they all look serious. And so young. 2 guys and 1 girl. The 3 newbies, nervous on their first day, are lined up. One of them particularly catches my eye.
I'm Kent Smith. I'm looking forward to working here and learning from you all.
He's really tall. And his voice is loud and clear. According to his resume, he's from a prestigious university. He looks like a fresh-faced young man with a charm that's likely popular with women. Sure enough, the female staff are already whispering among themselves. There might be some rivalry over him. I don't usually get involved in office romances, but if it affects our department's atmosphere, that's another story. Kent Smith, I'll need to keep an extra eye on him. Then, suddenly, our eyes meet unexpectedly. Why is my face feeling hot over something like this? Ms. Mindy, can I ask you a question? I'm confused about something. Oh, yeah, sure, that's about.
I see. Got it. Thank you.
He flashes a bright smile and heads back to his desk with a brisk movement. I couldn't take my eyes off him, from his expression to his movements.
What's this all about?
Ever since the day Kent was assigned to our department, I've been acting strange. It's a sensation I've never felt before. It's probably not love at first sight, but I find myself constantly watching him, even though he's 8 years younger. It must be because he's a promising young man, and as a senior and supervisor, I'm just paying attention to him. Indeed, the newcomer Kent Smith was the center of attention. Not only is he good-looking, but he's also smart and quick to learn his job. He has high communication skills, and some bosses already expect him to become the ace of the sales department. I guess I'm one of those people too. No, I can't just focus on him. There are other juniors too, and I have to treat everyone equally. Reminding myself of this, I tried to deliberately look away, but ironically, that turned out to be counterproductive. Now, my ears are tracking his voice and movements, making it hard to concentrate on work. Maybe I have feelings for him. No, that's impossible. It's probably just like admiring a handsome idol. I never think about dating him, and I shouldn't. I remind myself to maintain a professional distance as a senior and supervisor. But despite that,
Ms. Mindy, the pasta at this place is really good.
yeah, I like it too. The more I try to keep my distance, the more he seems to approach me. Some days he wants to discuss work matters. Another day, as a thank you for listening to my concerns, I started being invited for lunch or drinks, always with some reason or another. Hey, Mr. Smith.
I've been thinking, you can call me Kent, Ms. Mindy.
His carefree smile is so bright, it makes me feel even more embarrassed. Even though he has no ulterior motives. I am the only one who is overly conscious, clearly showing ulterior motives. It's embarrassing at my age.
Kent, you can always come to me for advice, and you really don't need to thank me every time. Okay.
So, I wanted to tell him to stop asking me out. But just as I was about to say it.
So, you mean I don't need a reason to ask you out? What? No, that's not what I meant.
After thinking for a moment, he looked up with a big smile and said,
Then next time, I'll ask you out because I like you, Mindy. What? I thought it was mutual. I should have confessed earlier. Hey, we're still at work. Keep your voice down.
As I hurriedly cautioned him, he laughed mischievously, saying, You're loud too, Mindy. I can't believe I'm falling for that smile. It's been a month since his sudden confession. It's a secret from our colleagues and juniors, but now Kent is my boyfriend.
I was really worried, you know. Mindy is beautiful and popular. Beautiful? You always say that, but I don't think so. Good. I'm glad no one else got to you first. Was it my persistence? Oh, stop.
I don't know how many times I turned down Kent's confessions. It was hard to believe he liked me. But Kent never gave up. I'll definitely make you look my way, he declared, becoming more and more bold in his approach. Eventually, I gave in and agreed to date him. Little does he know, I'm now the one who's more smitten. This is actually my first time dating a younger man. Maybe it's because of his youth, but Kent's energetic and straightforward ways are so dazzling that I find myself constantly excited and unable to take my eyes off him. I really love him, from the bottom of my heart. That's why I strictly separate work and private life. At the office, I don't allow casual talk or familiarity, and our relationship is a secret. I don't want unnecessary rumors to harm his position.
I want to tell everyone how great my girlfriend is.
Truthfully, I feel the same. If there ever comes a time when Kent and I decide to marry, I'll proudly announce it. I've made up my mind. It didn't take long for us to decide to move in together after we started dating. On weekends, we'd look for apartments together, finding one that suited both of our preferences. Those moments were blissful. Hey, how about this place? I like it. Yeah, the rent is a bit high, but I'll be able to afford it once I make it big, right? I'm counting on you. Considering his potential, we chose a slightly expensive rental apartment. Even if he doesn't advance as expected, I've been working longer and earn more due to my position. I could pay more rent if necessary. However, when I conveyed this as meaning it was not a problem, Kent's expression turned somewhat displeased. Mindy, can we rent the apartment in my name? Why? What's the reason? Well, you know, as a man, I have my pride.
Male pride.
I realized then. Saying it's okay even if he doesn't succeed might have sounded like I had no expectations from him. I had hurt his pride.
Kent, I'm sorry. It's not that I don't have expectations from you.
I know. But as a man, I want to be the one providing for the woman I love. Even if it's just in name, I want to be the head of the household.
Kent, okay, I understand.
And so, we decided to rent the apartment in Kent's name. Because of this incident, I became more considerate towards Kent. Maybe that's why we never had any major fights and lived a very happy life together in our new home. Kent, why do you think you missed this deal? Let's think about it together. Kent, dinner's ready. I made your favorite meatloaf tonight. At work, I guide Kent as a senior and supervisor, since he's still quite green. At home, as his girlfriend, I cook him dinner every night with all my heart. I'm always thinking about Kent, and we're always together. But far from getting tired of each other, I find myself wanting even more time together. Like, as Kent's wife. I want to marry Kent. About a year after we started living together, this feeling naturally emerged.
Hey Kent, how old do you think I am? You're beautiful no matter your age, Mindy. That's not what I mean.
When we started dating, I was already 30. Now I'm 31. And in a few months, I'll be 32.
I'd like to get married sooner rather than later. I want children too.
That day, Kent didn't respond. Did he think I was pushing for marriage right away? While I felt awkward, his behavior remained unchanged over the next few days. Then one night, he said,
I think I'd prefer to get married a bit later. What? There's still so much for me to learn at work, and I'd rather settle down a bit more before that. Can you wait for me, Mindy? Oh.
Right, he's still maturing, something I knew better than anyone. Yet here I was, selfishly pressuring him about marriage.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. It's not like I don't want to marry you, Mindy. I just think a bit later would be better. Okay.
Kent, always considerate, pats my shoulder gently. I really love him for that. Even if we can't get married right away, that doesn't change. Right. I should focus on supporting him now. There's no rush, we'll get married eventually, in due time. I reassure myself while continuing to support him both personally and professionally. But as years pass, 3, then 4 years, I start to feel anxious. Especially on our anniversary each year, I can't help but feel the weight of time passing, and my eagerness grows. Someday, we'll get married, Kent. Carefully masking my true desire to get married soon, I express my wish to him once a year. Secretly hoping he'll say, let's get married, on his own. But marriage, huh? Yeah, someday. Yeah, someday. Kent's response is always the same. I'm beginning to realize. His interest seems to be fading. He's more focused on his smartphone than our anniversary dinner. In the apartment, he goes to bed early, claiming tiredness, hardly engaging in conversation. It's okay, he's just busy with work and doesn't have much spare time. This is when he needs my support the most.
But honestly, I want to get married now.
While confiding my true feelings to close friends, I continue to wait for Kent's decision. Time flies, and before I know it, I'm 40. A few years ago, my achievements in training newcomers were recognized, and I was transferred from the sales to the human resources department. I'm currently entrusted with the significant role of a department head. Professionally, I'm doing great, but personally, this year marks 10 years since Kent and I started dating. Yet, there's still no sign of marriage. Since moving to different departments, we have no interaction at work. In our apartment, we barely talk anymore, almost like strangers living in the same place. While I manage all the household chores with a tired body, Kent is out drinking late into the night. When I bring it up, he looks at me like I'm a nagging mother. Can this even be called a romantic relationship? Despite my worries, I still love Kent. Of course, I still want to marry him. It was in that moment. I was suddenly struck, as if by lightning. That's it, marriage. Why am I waiting for him to propose? I couldn't stand it anymore. I immediately sprang into action.
Can you believe it's been 10 years? Thank you for everything, Kent.
Yeah. I guess.
Has it been that long?
Kent, as usual, seemed utterly disinterested in me. Pretending not to notice, I smiled and raised my glass. Today was our 10th anniversary. I'd gone all out with the cooking, pleading with Kent, who grumbled, celebrations are unnecessary at this point, to at least stay in tonight. I even bought new clothes, a rare occurrence for me, put extra effort into my makeup, and prepared an expensive wine we don't usually drink. Everything was set. All that was left was to bring up the proposal.
Hey Kent, it's been 10 years for us.
I heard that already, you know.
So, I've been thinking. Isn't it about time? Shouldn't we get married?
What? I was determined to get a yes. I'd been preparing for this moment with all my heart. I gazed into Kent's eyes, praying for his response. But Kent, initially dumbfounded, quickly changed his expression. You're joking.
What? Marry an old lady? Annoying. Absolutely impossible. What? Kent?
Kent looked at me as if I were something filthy, his face contorted in disgust as he spat out his words. His tirade hit me like a barrage, leaving me bewildered.
Marriage, it was so annoying every year. Didn't you get the hint when I never proposed? That I wasn't interested. What were you expecting? From an old lady like you? To me, you're nothing more than a free housekeeper. I kept you around because you were convenient. Did you misunderstand something? Living together? Not a chance. It's more like caregiving now. That's awful. You really thought that? All this time? Yeah, pretty much.
As I asked him, trembling, Kent revealed the truth without a hint of remorse. He had lost interest in me years ago, just 2 years into our relationship. I took care of the household chores and paid more of the living expenses, so he found it convenient to continue living together. He was embarrassed to admit to anyone at work that he was dating an older woman.
Oh. I see, well.
I thought I'd be overwhelmed by shock, but surprisingly, I remained calm. My feelings for Kent cooled off instantly, fading away as if they were someone else's problem. And then, anger surged within me. I'll bring him down to hell. Enjoy your peace while it lasts. After venting his true feelings for years, Kent, with a relieved expression, said, "This wine is really good," as he sipped it. I calmly gathered my essential belongings. And then, I left the apartment we had lived in for 10 years. For the time being, I went to my parents' house, just 2 train stops away. I brushed off my parents' curiosity by saying we had a little fight. Once I've completed my revenge and settled everything with Kent, I'll tell them the truth. Nobody will stop me. I'm the one who'll bring Kent down to hell. As I unpacked, my anger towards him didn't subside but boiled even more. Why should I be the one to leave? That condo is mine, after all. It had been 10 years ago. There was an issue when we signed the lease for the apartment. The problem was with the apartment's name. The real estate agency informed us, with Mr. Kent's income, we were unable to pass the credit check. His salary back then wasn't enough to afford the rent. It hasn't changed much even now. In the end, the condo was rented in my name. So, that apartment is actually mine. Kent thought he was the landlord and was doing me a favor by letting me stay, but in reality, it was the other way around. I maintained his male pride and kept silent about the truth. Moreover, I took on all the household chores and continued to pay more than half of the rent. Instead of being appreciated, I received such treatment. The more I thought about it, the less it made sense.
Well, first things first, I need to get rid of some unnecessary stuff.
The next day, as I relaxed at my parents' house, Kent kept calling me. Ignoring him, he kept calling again and again. Reluctantly answering on the 10th call due to his persistence, I regretted it immediately as he began by yelling at me.
Where the hell are you, you old woman? You should remember the phone manners I taught you. Have you forgotten already? Shut up. Answer me. What have you done with the stuff in the house? You're noticing only now after drinking all night?
Today, I took a day off. I had hired a handyman service to move out the furniture and appliances. And I sold everything to a recycling shop, so by now, the apartment must be empty. Only a few of Kent's personal items remain on the floor.
I disposed of them because I no longer needed them.
Why are you angry, Kent?
They were mine too. Everything was brought from my previous apartment. So it's my prerogative to keep or dispose of them. By the way, I've also terminated the lease for the apartment, so you need to move out by the end of the month.
You only have a week left. When I announced this as the landlord and revealed who the real owner was, Kent was speechless on the phone.
What? You're joking, right?
Oh, and one more thing.
What? Is there still more? I almost forgot the most important part.
Calm down and listen. It's going to be a shock, but don't take it too hard. I slowly opened my mouth, savoring the moment as I revealed the truth as the HR department head.
Kent Smith, you're being laid off. What?
He reacted as if he had never expected this. But this had been decided a long time ago.
Surely you know the company is downsizing, right? We were instructed by upper management to lay off employees who aren't producing results. So, I'm one of them? Why?
With a heavy sigh, I explained to him in a way even he could understand.
This is my biggest regret, really, something I don't even want to mention. But you, Kent, are the only one among the employees I've trained who has barely achieved anything in 10 years.
This must have been the last thing his pride could accept. He was completely speechless once again.
You don't study, you don't learn from your mistakes. And yet, you're all about attitude and pride. I really had a hard time with you. Cute in your 20s, but you're 32 now. Maybe it's time to reevaluate yourself. Well, this is goodbye for real.
Without waiting for a response, I hung up the phone. But I loved you. Even if you were laid off, I could have supported you.
Yeah, cry all you want until you feel better.
There I was, crying uncontrollably, my face a mess, regardless of my age. My childhood friend and confidant, Arthur, comforted me despite my disheveled state. His attitude might be a bit dry, but I know he's kind at heart. He's been the one to listen to my complaints and give advice over these past 10 years. I felt terribly guilty for bursting into his house in the middle of the night. Sorry, you have work tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Saturday, get it together. Right, it is. Then let's drink till morning. Will you join me?
Now? Think about your age, really. Despite his words, Arthur agreed to keep me company. He continued to be there for me, inviting me out and even checking on me at my parents' home. His kindness healed my wounded heart. And the greatest kindness was helping me let go of Kent.
Your ex was cheating on you. With several younger women at the company. What? Why? How do you know?
I had it investigated. Hired a detective. If you still want that kind of trash, go ahead and get back together. His blunt and seemingly cold words were actually pushing me forward.
Yeah, I'm done. It doesn't matter anymore.
Thanks to Arthur, I was able to find the resolve to move forward.
I can't believe I didn't notice such a great guy was right by my side. I really had no eye for people. Really, you're the head of HR?
I'll improve. A year after saying goodbye to Kent. Gradually, as Arthur showed concern for me in various ways, I grew closer to him, beyond just being friends. Now, we're in a new relationship as lovers. Who would have thought I'd end up with Arthur, who's been with me since childhood? Life is so unpredictable. Today is our long-awaited date. The once indifferent and aloof Arthur had somehow acquired the art of being a gentleman. He's become a mature man. He seemed like a stranger to me, making my heart flutter with a fresh excitement.
Hey, don't zone out while walking. You'll trip and start crying again. I won't trip. Again? That was decades ago.
It was just as I placed my hand in Arthur's outstretched one. That's when he appeared in front of us.
Mindy, I've been looking for you. So you're here.
Kent? His once carefully maintained hairstyle was nowhere to be seen, his beard unkempt and overgrown. His clothes were so dirty and worn, he looked almost unrecognizable. Yet, this man was Kent, my former lover. Who's this guy?
Don't tell me he's your new man? That's none of your business.
What do you want now, after all this time?
Don't mess with me.
Startled by his sudden outburst, I flinched. Protectively, Arthur stepped forward.
Disappear now. Or I'll call the police. Go ahead, call them. I have nothing left to lose because of that damn woman.
Kent shouted, making a scene, explaining his plight. After being laid off, he struggled to find a new job, was dumped by the women he had affairs with, and gradually lost his meager savings. Now, Kent is living in a cheap apartment without a bath, struggling to make ends meet with part-time jobs. He glared at me as if I were his enemy, blaming me for all his misfortunes, saying it was all because you dumped me.
And yet, you're happy with a new man? Don't joke with me. I thought you'd be left on the shelf, so I was even considering marrying you now. No thanks. I refuse to marry you. What? Don't get above yourself, you old woman.
Kent raised his fist. I instinctively closed my eyes, but it was unnecessary.
Mindy, call the police. Ow, ow, ow. Help, my arm, you're breaking it.
Under Arthur's control, Kent let out a pathetic cry. Before I could even react, Arthur had already subdued him.
Stay calm. If you really don't want your arm broken. Yes, yes.
Typical of Arthur, a former soldier, now retired. In the chaos, I quickly called 911. Kent was taken away by the police officers and eventually forced to return to his strict parents' home, which he had always complained about not wanting to return to. Afterward, Arthur and I got married, rented a new apartment, and started our married life. This time, the lease was in my name again.
It doesn't matter whose name it's in, right? We're living together anyway.
Meaning, as long as we're together, the details don't matter. His indirect way of speaking made me smile. I'm sure I'll continue to be happy from now on.